Hello everyone, welcome back to the Spotlight. We are back again and another loss this week. Tonight, it's a tough pill to swallow after the Arsenal game as well. I think that's only 4 points out of 12 we've got so far under Amorims. I'm sat here in my onesie after watching the game in this horrendous weather, hoping for a result, which never came. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say really about it apart from Martinez has had a nightmare today. And Arna's let a soft goal in again. And Bruno Fernandes is up to his usual tricks of he's involved in every goal, but the rest of his game is just abysmal. But we'll get onto it. We've got a set piece. First thing in the game that happens, and we concede. And Martinez is too weak. He's marking that Milenko, or whatever his name is. He ain't got the power. He just stands there and uses his arm. And as much as Martinez is shoving him and pushing him, he cannot move him. He's too strong for him, and he just heads it in. Easy. Simple, basic goal. And it's not particularly poor defending from Martinez, I don't think. It's just lack of height and lack of strength. Probably if it's De Ligt up against that Milenkovic or Maguire, he ain't scoring that goal because they're matching for height and they're matching for strength. The facts are the facts. The third goal, the looper, I think first of all, it drops on the edge of the area and Delo's weak, doesn't win the ball, it ends up wide, put it into the box. Chris Wood makes a looping header. Everyone's saying Anana's at fault for that one. How is he? The ball loops over his head. There's nothing he can do about that. For me, the third goal, again, is one on Delo on the edge of the area for not being strong enough in the tackle, and two on Martinez because he just lets it go in. I think he thinks it's going wide or something, so instead of clearing it, he's gone and he goes and puts it wide. It just allows it to go in. I don't know what he's doing. Even Anana turns around and looks at him and thinks, what is going on? And the second goal, I think it was, Bruno, what a couple of moments of brilliance, but this is what he does all the time. He gives the ball away cheaply, constantly. And he's in the midfield, stupid pass, back to goal. Yoro's running onto the ball. It's a little flick of the foot, not a proper pass. He comes inside. He shoots. He's got some whip on the ball. Anana probably should save it. But the facts are that shot should have never, ever happened. Because Bruno should have picked the ball up, held it and turned, or took a proper touch and made a proper pass. We get back in the game with a Højlund tap in, and Bruno plays the ball from the halfway line to Agate, who threads it through. Garnacho heavy touch, and then Rasmus taps it in. For me, apart from that tap in, Rasmus did next to nothing in that game. And again, everyone will talk about service and this, that, and the other, but he's got to do more. He's doing absolutely nothing at all, to be honest. Second half, completely and utterly non-existent. May as well have not been on the pitch. Amhad did okay. He's probably the only one who looked like an actual threat. De Ligt did okay. Yoro, I guess, did okay. He could have probably maybe done better with Wood on the looping header. But, I mean, defensively, he's normally our strong point, and then it shows today when we have a bad day defensively, we're not going to win games. I think Garnacho was poor again in the 10. I've said it on all my other videos. The guy's not a 10. He never will be. He's either got to be moulded to be a wing back or he's got to be sold. And the same goes for Rashford. The both of them are extremely similar. Both poor with a back to goal. Both want to get it, run at people, headless chicken, run head down and shoot type players. They're not link players. Neither of them can do it. The question is, can Garnacho either learn it or learn to work hard enough to be a wing back? Rashford, for me, his learning time is gone. He is what he is, and he has got to be sacrificed, in my opinion, in the summer as the sacrificial lamb of that side. And second on that list for me will be Bruno Fernandes, as you all know, because who has been the constant in the team under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ten Hag, and now Amorim, and all the interims in between, and the results never get any better. And that's Bruno Fernandes. And again, today he's had a couple of moments where things have happened, and he's obviously scored a decent goal. But when we go down to 2-1 and 3-1 in the second half, it's headless chicken mode again. It's all over the place. It's hitting long balls. And I was just watching the other massive Man United channel. You all know which one I'm talking about before I come on here. And people are saying like we got no better when the subs come on and we're paying Mount 250 grand. And I get it. He should come on and make an impact, and he didn't. I'm not defending Mount here or what I'm saying, but there's a difference. Mount's coming on at 3-1 down when the game's already gone. It's already scrappy. We're all over the place. Nobody's getting the ball to the 10s or anything. The problem is we should have started with Mount and not Bruno. And we would have had more control in the game for longer periods. It would have been less scrappy. It would have kept the ball in the final third more. And this end-to-end basketball, headless chicken, loss of control football probably wouldn't have happened. If we was playing Mount and Ahmad in the 10s or Mount and Eriksen in the 10s, we wouldn't be losing the ball every time it goes forward. I think people really need to get that in their head, that if we're playing Højlund, Garnacho and Bruno as our front three, this will be every game. Because none of them can retain possession of the ball. So if you've got no ball retention in your front three, how do people ever expect us to get up the pitch and create anything? It just doesn't happen. I think Amorim he must have had a wake-up call. I mean, Arsenal's like a free hit. We've gone from an average performance against Ipswich where you let him off because it's his first game, but it's still Ipswich who should be beating him, to beating Everton 4-0. And even Amorim in that game said, we should have been better and Everton deserve more. So that says a lot. Then we've gone away to Arsenal and lost, where everyone was saying we actually played all right and the result's the result. And tonight we've been at home against Forest and we've been awful. We're back to the same old crap that we was pre-Amorim. This is not a good look for these players or Amorim at this moment in time. And like I say, I'm backing Amorim in this because the way he talks is exactly how I want a Man United manager to talk. But you've got to hope that he's having a wake-up call about which players need to go. And there was that report out saying at the end of this month he will have a report out there about which players he wants to keep and which ones wants to go. Well, can we please hope and pray that the ones that were supposedly on that list are not the ones that he wants to go? I mean, we do need them to go, but we need more high-profile players to go than Evans, Lindelof, Anthony, Casemiro, Ericsson, whoever it was. You know, those 4 or 5 players, whoever they were on that report, are players. You don't need to be within Man United to know that those players need to go for our future. Amorim needs to quickly get to grips with Ineos and have a look at our best players, not the ones that we think are the worst and need to go. He needs to look at the ones the fan base and the club put on a pedestal and decide whether they're good enough or not. Because the reality of it is, the Ericssons, the Casemiros, the Johnny Evanses, they never will take us to where we're going to go. But the problem Amorim's got is if he sticks with Bruno, like the previous 2-3 managers have, there's only one place he's going. And it's the same with Rashford, and it's the same with Shaw, and it's the same with 2 or 3 other players in that squad. If he sticks with them players, there's only one place he's going, and we all know it. Whether you like it or not, whether you love the guy, whether he says everything right between now and 2 years' time when his contract's up, whether he plays and sticks by his formation and gets us playing some half-decent football, but we lose games. The facts are, if he sticks with Bruno, Maguire, Shaw, Rashford, those players who are put on a pedestal at the top of United hierarchy, we will fail still. And will the club allow him to get rid of Rashford, Bruno and the likes? And will Amorim do it? You could even include Dalot on that because he's been there since pre-Ollie and he's been poor this season. Martinez is another one on the list, and if you've ever watched my channel before or long term, you will know that I've never been a fan of Martinez particularly. He did all right when he first come, then he got injured, he come back, then he got a very long injury, then he's come back this season, and he's been awful this season, and today is just an epitome on top of how bad he has been. And that's all I've got to say, really, is you can't really take anything else from it apart from we hope Amorim is learning the hard way. And in January and December, he is able to make the decisions he wants to make to clear these players out. It's a bit of a somber mood. I know, it's nearly 9 o'clock here in the UK. Saturday night game. You hope for a win against Forest. Forest have been good. I think they're up to 5th. I mean, let me have a quick look. Where are we in the league now? Oh, God. We was 13th, weren't we, before we started today, so it's not going to be pretty reading, I don't think. Scrolling down my page here. Yeah, we're still 13th by the looks of this, by the looks of the Premier League table. 1 goal difference, positive 1 goal difference. We've lost 6 games already this season out of 15. And 2 under Amorim as well. I mean, I don't really know what to say about it. I'm not getting carried away. We've got to see out the end of this season. But that top 4 now, I was positive for top 4. I mean, how many points are we off it now after today's results? Man City have got 27 points. We've only got 19. So 8 points is that off top 4. It's a long road back when people are saying You can't overhaul Liverpool with an 8-point gap at the top. Why would we be able to overhaul an 8-point gap to fourth? So fourth looks like it's gone now. These last two games, the Arsenal game and this Forest game especially, have big time dented us having the hopes of top four. We can only hope we can make it back into the Europa League in sixth, and we're 6 points off that at the minute. So you tell me, I mean, what do you do? Is our focus now, has it got to be on the Europa League to get into the Champions League? I think it's got to be, hasn't it? I think top four is too much of a shout now. With City coming up, Liverpool coming up, Bournemouth, I think we've got. Let's have a look at the rest of our fixtures here. United fixtures. Man United fixtures. We've got City away next. Bournemouth at home. Wolves on Boxing Day. Newcastle and then Liverpool. So we've got City, Newcastle and Liverpool in the next 5 games. Then we've got Bournemouth, who are no pushovers, and you'd expect us to beat Wolves, but that game's away. January, we've got Southampton, Brighton, Fulham, Palace. So Southampton, you'd expect us to beat at home. Brighton at home, it will be a tough game, but on paper we should beat them. Fulham away, tough place to go. Fulham away. Then Palace on the 1st of February at home. But these next 5 games, and I'm only talking about the Premier League here because we've got other games in between. I think we've got a Spurs Cup game, we've got a Europa League game. We might have Arsenal in the FA Cup. I don't know when that game falls. But we're looking in a bad spot at the minute. We really needed to win that game today. City is a game. I mean, City are on awful form at the minute. But we're not on much better form ourselves, are we? But City are that. They've drawn with Palace 2-2 today. Tough place to go away, Palace. But it's a tough ass to beat City, even in the current form. Bournemouth. I don't even fancy us against Bournemouth. That's how bad it is, you know. I mean, we're Bournemouth in the league, 10th. Won the last 2. Got Ipswich next, so they could be on a bit of a streak by the time we come to play them as well. Yeah, I don't know really what else to say about this. This form of these players, really. I just hope that we might see some Bruno rotation. I doubt it's going to happen. He'll probably end up back in the 8 again in the next game versus City, because he'll probably think we need legs in midfield again. So it'll probably be him and Casemiro or him and Agate again. But I don't know how to fix this at the minute. Like I said, I think I've said my side at the minute would not include Bruno, Rashford or Garnacho. And on today's game, it wouldn't include Martinez either. I think I would play De Ligt, Yoro and Maguire as the back 3 in whatever position. Probably Maguire central, Yoro right, De Ligt left. Play Mazwari on one wing back and Ahmad the other wing back. I'd play Agate and I think Mainu struggled today. I know a lot of people talk about Mainu and he's like our future. I'm honestly not so sure. Like, I know he's only really young and he could develop, but I don't think he's got the physical attributes to play in midfield in the Premier League, especially in a high pressure, high intensity hammering system. He's silky on the ball. He can move. He can drop a shoulder, do all that stuff. But can he play as a 6/8 in this system? I don't know. The jury's out on Mainu. I've always thought he looks a bit slow to play in a Premier League midfield. Because what we moan that like Eriksen's got no legs if he plays next to Agate. We moan Casemiro's got no legs if he plays next to Agate. To me, Mainu's never shown he's got legs. He's almost like a younger version of Eriksen that likes to get the ball. He can play in tight spaces, make passes, but he ain't going to run around and be combative and track runs and drive up the pitch with the ball. And I know we all go on about we don't want Pogba back, and I wouldn't take Pogba back myself, but we need a Pogba-style player in that midfield. Someone who's technically gifted, athletic, can play long and short passes, and when he picks up the ball and there's 20 yards of space in front of him, they drive into it. We don't have that. We've got Agate, who's Fred 2.0. He runs around and tackles and ain't great on the ball. Does well for us in this current system and how poor we are. But is Agate really a midfielder to take us to a level to beat Man City, to beat Arsenal, to a Premier League? He might be doing well for us now and be our man of the match nearly every game, or between him and Ahmad or whatever. He's nowhere near good enough to be on the level Roger is he? He's not anywhere near it. And that is the problem. As good as we think Agate is, he ain't good enough. You need a Rodri. You need a Fernandinho. We ain't got one. Like, we all forget that Agate was sat on PSG's bench for an 18-year-old. And I don't want to diss Agate too much because he has been good for us the last few games. But we all talk about us getting back to the top. And Agate will not take us there. He's not good enough on the ball. And he especially won't take us there with a Mainu, a Casemiro, and an Eriksen or a Bruno next to him. Maybe if we get a super, super good technical player that can drive and take the ball in tight spaces and create and progress the ball, and all Agate does is tackle and pass to him. We need Modric next to Agate. That's basically what I'm saying. It's not happening. And then our 10s are just so far off it. Bruno, Rashford, Garnacho, Mount today, they're nowhere near it. And we have to somehow find a way to get Ahmad and Mount in the 10s. And hopefully come January, we will buy a proper left wing back, which means Mazwari can play on maybe right wing back and we can play someone else on left wing back. Because the other problem we have with Bruno in there, in the midfield, is nobody picks the ball up off the defence, and Agate doesn't do it. And probably Mainu and that try, and they don't get it. I've talked about them enough, but the 10s is a huge problem because even if we get the ball into midfield to an Agate or a Mainu, where do they go from there? We've got two more players in front of them to get the ball to, and the ball doesn't stick. So to me, you have to, whatever you're playing, one of those two in the 10 has to be a player that the ball sticks to. And it's got to be Mount and Ahmad. Up front, for now, he's obviously got to be Højlund, even though I thought he just did nothing today, but I don't think anyone else would have done out up front either. It's just one of them things. I mean, he don't do anything a lot of the time. But he's the best of what we've got, and which is probably why there's all the rumours out over the past week. We're trying to find a striker in January, because the problem with Højlund is you knock the ball up to his feet aren't good enough to retain it. You knock it up to his head or his chest, he's not strong enough to hold it. You knock it into a channel and he runs after a player. He doesn't really know how to get his body in front of him to shield the ball, so we lose the ball that way. And I'm not totally blaming Højlund here, because like I say, he doesn't always get the service and whatever else, but today he's just non-existent, especially second half. He may as well have not been on the pitch, and you wouldn't have even known any different. But the keys are, for me, is those two in midfield and the 2 10s. You need one deep liar who gets the ball off the midfield, or is integrated into the patterns of playing out from the back. They then give it to either a 10 or the second midfielder who progress the ball forward or wide. And at the moment, both of our 10s and both of our 6/8s are not good enough to do it. And until we fix that issue, like, it's not really any different to the previous regimes where the midfield is the problem. Until we can somehow learn to connect the midfield to the front players, we will never get any better. And until Amorims realises that sticking with the players that have failed us for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years will not work. We also just need to realise that, and hopefully he knows it, and hopefully he's just waiting for time to replace him. But I get the feeling that Bruno will be a mainstay, and he will die on the Bruno sword like managers have before him, because he's only got a 2-year contract. So if we're still playing like this in a year and a half and not getting results, and Bruno's playing every game, as Højlund's celebration does, he'll be out the door. Ineos won't care. I've said it before, Ineos sacked 7 managers in 5 years at Nice. If Amorims don't work in 18 months to 2 years' time, he will be out the door. So he either has to act now or he will be gone. There's no sentiment, there's no hanging around for a 3rd year anymore like we did with Ten Hag. He has to make an impact. And everything he says, like I say, I back Amorims, because everything he says is a positive. Will he back it up? Only time will tell. Tell me what you think about the game. Tell me what you think about your Bruno. And Martinez, really. Tell me what you think about Martinez for once, like in the comments or whatever. What do you think of Martinez this season? I always talk about Bruno. So what do you think about Martinez this season? Has he got a future at the club, or has his injuries and his performance this year going to finish him? I'm going to leave the stream there. Talked for long enough. Get a beer. Go to bed. And dwell on another Man United defeat. Peace. And subscribe.